going to be using this potting soil that I made. If you haven't seen this video, make sure you check the description box down below of how I made my potting soil for my plants. And now I am going to repot all of my house plants. So stay tuned. These two up and put them in two separate pots because I bought two of these size pots. So I think that's what I'm going to do. soil. So luckily I bought twice, double of everything. So now you're going to see me, quote unquote, quickly make another batch of soil. So let's get to it. Is cleaning this up, this root, so that I could plant it down some more. repotting, and now I'm just going through and giving them a good water. I hope that you're right. So guys, I am done repotting all of my plants finally. It took so long, but it is all done and you have seen the finished product. I didn't do a lot of explaining in this video, so I'm gonna try and do some of that now. So basically, you saw the potting soil that I had. I mixed it up. When repotting the pots, I did make every new pot that the plant was going to bigger than the one that it came out of so that it would have room to grow. I also made sure that I didn't put the plant too far at the bottom or too far at the top of the pot. You want to put soil at the bottom, put the plant in kind of midways or so, and then put more soil on top of it with the roots. Spread it out. Make sure you break up the roots as you're putting the plant into the new pot. You can mix the old soil and with the new soil if the old soil is not bad or have root rot or anything like that. I did have one plant, I can't remember which one it was, that had root rot, and so I didn't use the soil from that one. But all of my other plants pretty much had pretty good soil in it. Some of them were maybe a little dry because I knew that I was doing this repotting, so I didn't water last week when I would have. So I kind of like skipped the water so that I could water them down real good today. And that brings me to my last point, which is that when you finish repotting your plants in new soil, you definitely want to drench them down in water when you are done to make sure that they are just solidified in that new pot and getting comfortable in that new home. And it's best to do it at night so you can go ahead and turn the lights off and let them sleep. And then so when they wake up in the morning, they have a brand new home, new water, and they are hydrated. I just feel like they just thrive better that way. If you have any questions, comments, or if you have any tips for me, because I am new at all, so I think this may be like my second time repotting my plants. Um, so yeah, I'm fairly new at this. So if you have any tips or anything, please comment them down below. If you have any questions, I will try my best to answer them. You can comment your questions down below. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Share this with someone who maybe want to get some plants started, has a few plants and want to do better. We can all do it together, okay? So make sure you share this video with people and stay tuned for the next video. Thank you guys. Hey guys, I am back. So after repotting my plants, I have noticed that two plants probably need to be switched in their pots. So I am going to switch them out now. It's only been like 2 days they've been in these pots, so I hope this does not do any damage to them or like stunt their growth process or anything like that. But I don't know, I just feel like the plant, so one is in a smaller pot and one is in a bigger pot, and the one that's in the smaller pot needs to go in the bigger pot, the one that's in the bigger pot needs to go in the smaller pot. And had that been my plan to keep both of them in pots, that is what I would have done beforehand. But I was planning on putting the plant that's in the smaller pot, this one right here, I was planning to put that one in my flower bed in the spring in the next couple of weeks or so. But I've been advised not to do that, to keep it as a house plant. And so I'm going to switch it with this monstera plant, which doesn't necessarily need to be in that big old pot. So had this been my decision at first, or had I come to this realization at first, I definitely would have put the monstera pot in the gray pot and put the bush plant in the white pot, because it's obviously going to do better in that pot. But I wasn't planning on keeping it in a pot. Okay, but anyways, I'm done rambling and I'm finna go ahead and switch these pots over.